Hello and welcome to the Rockies Now podcast. My name is Steven. To my left is Tom and Adam. We are pleased to join you today here on the podcast. We only have a couple more weeks until opening day in Tampa against the Rays. Tom, Adam, good to see you. Excited for this week's podcast. We have a special one this week. This one I've been looking forward to since last year because generally this is the most talked about podcasts among our followers in terms of the predictions and everything. Because I remember last year I got a lot of crap from our following for picking a specific team in the AL Central to win the division. And even though they didn't win the division, they did pretty well in the playoffs. And I'm talking about the Tigers. And just wait till you see today for my predictions for the Tigers. But Adam, Tom, good to see you. And I'm curious to see Tom's predictions because Adam sent me his through his text this morning. I was waking up. I'm like, did he put that team at number 2? What the heck? So I'm excited. So let's get into some predictions. Since Adam is our newest addition to Rockies Now, we're going to have the pleasure of him going first. We're going to start off with the American League, going from west to east, so west, central, and east. And we're going to start off with the American League here, and then after Adam's done with the American League, then we'll hand it off to Tom for his American League predictions. So, Adam, off to you.
I appreciate that. It's good to be back with you guys. Thank you very much. So you want me to just go division winners or division by division?
If you want, you could do fifth place on up to first place for each division and do something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to have to do my notes here real quick. Give me 1 second. I got it right here. Okay. So for the American League, in the east or the west, doesn't matter.
If you want to start off with the west, that's fine. We'll go west to east. Yeah.
So in the west, I think pretty popular opinion here, right? I think the Angels are going to finish 5th. I think they have a lot of reclamation projects that they're trying to put together. You know, you got Kenley Jansen there. You've got, some other guys. I'm also not a big fan of the Angels because I'm a Mariners fan. So I'm kind of hoping they won't be good. But on paper, I just don't think that team looks very good as far as, especially on the pitching side of it. And then slightly above them, I have the Mariners finishing in 4th. I'm a very harsh critic of the Mariners, even though I'm a fan. I don't like that they have been stagnant offensively with the offseason. They didn't address the offense at all. Rowdy Tellez and Donovan Solano don't really move the needle for me as a Mariners fan. So I'm going to say 4th place. And then you've got George Kirby already on, probably headed towards the IL long term. Mm-hmm. That's not good. And then on top of that, they should have traded Castillo for Cassis when they had the chance. So I think the Mariners are destined for 4th place, slightly ahead of them. This is going to shock some people. I got a little shock value here. I've got the Astros finishing in 3rd place in the American League West. I can see Tom already. He's like, where's he going with this, man? I don't think their pitching is going to hold up this year. I think their offense is very, very formidable still, especially the first 5 in that lineup. Christian Walker, assuming he gets healthy. I really like that lineup. I just don't really like their starting pitching as far as just a lot of young and unproven guys there. And Christian Javier can't seem to get healthy. So if he comes back, it might change things. But, I'm not a huge fan of that pitching rotation. In 2nd place, I'm thinking out of nowhere, I'm thinking the A's are going to finish 2nd place in the West. I really, really like that lineup. They're young. They're exciting. I think Lawrence Butler is going to have a huge breakout season for them, maybe 25 to 30 home runs. The first 6, 7 guys in that lineup can mash. Mm-hmm. They have the potential to do that. The pitching is a little bit questionable as far as the rotation with Severino. But that bullpen, man, if you get the ball to Leclerc and Mason Miller at the end, you're going to be in trouble. So I like the A's big time there to finish 2nd. And plus, something like this always happens every year, right? When it comes to baseball, you've got teams that come out of nowhere. And I think it's going to be the A's this year, especially since everyone kind of discounts them because they're going to be playing in a minor league stadium. And, I think they're just a minor footnote when it comes to Major League Baseball in general these days. And then I've got the Texas Rangers coming all the way back this year and making some big noise. Of course, a lot of it hinges on Jacob deGrom staying healthy. But I really like their rotation with Eovaldi and deGrom. And their lineup, we already know, can mash. And if they can get Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter back on track this year, keep those guys healthy, you already know what Seager and Simeon can do. I really, really like the Rangers to win the West handily this year, actually. So
I like those odds. I like those predictions. Yeah.
That's the West.
Yeah.
And then Central now, or doesn't matter?
Yeah. Do Central.
So I got the Tigers winning the division. I think the main problem with them, or the biggest question mark with them, is going to be offense. Can Torkelson finally come through and be the guy that they need him to be and that they thought he could be? We'll see. But they've got other youngsters like Green and Carpenter. Green obviously needs to stay healthy. But Kerry Carpenter is a beast. And he is clutch, and I really like that. I really like him in that lineup. I think their pitching is lights out. Starting pitching has a chance to be maybe the best in the American League if certain guys can come up and make an impact. But that bullpen is nasty once again, and I don't see a lot of teams being able to get past the Tigers if they're down, beyond the sixth inning. So I think the Tigers are set up well for a lot of success. And then I've got the Royals after that. I don't really love their starting pitching. I know that Waka and Lugo have been solid. I just don't know how long that's going to last. I know they're good pitchers. Cole Reagans is outstanding as well. I don't really love their offense. I know they added Jonathan India, but I'm not a huge fan of that. That addition to really, I guess, make a huge impact on the Royals. And then in third place, I got the Guardians. I think they've subtracted a lot, but they still have a lot of talent there. And if Manzardo can step up and be, a middle of the order presence for them with Ramirez, I think they're still going to be pretty good. Obviously, the bullpen's still intact. Starting pitching's a little bit questionable, more questionable than in recent years, I would say. Something that they've been able to lean on in recent years. I don't think it's quite there this year. Then I've got the Twins. The only reason I have the Twins in fourth, I love their rotation. I love the bullpen, but I have them in fourth place because I don't think that Royce and Buxton are going to stay healthy. I just don't. They've proven time and time again that they can't do it. But if they can stay healthy, that lineup can straight up mash. You got every guy in that lineup can hit 20 home runs, basically. So I think they're very dangerous, but I don't think that they're going to stay healthy. And then in last place, I mean, the White Sox, and I think that just goes without saying. So I don't need to go into too much depth on that one. But hey, I've got the Mariners finishing in fourth, so it's not like we're any better. And then when I go to the East, man, that's a crapshoot, honestly. I could see the Yankees finishing last there, and I almost picked them to finish last. You have a lot of quality ball clubs out there. To pick the Rays to finish last was really tough for me because the Rays, they just always retool. They lose guys all the time. Jeffrey Springs, they lost him. They'll just replace him. They're getting a whole season of Krista Morale and Candelario. You're getting all that from these guys. But I just don't think this year is quite enough on the pitching side for them. But we'll see. If McClanahan can come back and be healthy, obviously that's going to be a huge addition for them. I got the Yankees finishing in fourth now because of Garrett Cole's injury. I don't think that's going to be easily replaced by them. I think they were looking at maybe a trade for Dylan Cease, and the Padres are like, "Nah, we're not doing that. Sorry." So if they can make that trade, it might change a few things. But I think their lineup, they don't have any depth. If certain guys get hurt, like if Aaron Judge gets hurt, like who do you have in that lineup? I don't love it. I love their bullpen. I think they're going to be locked down after the sixth inning, kind of similar to the A's and to the Tigers. But that lineup is just not, I don't know. And Garrett Cole, he's huge, man. He's one of the
Yeah.
best pitchers in baseball. So I think losing him is a big deal. I got the Orioles finishing third. I don't like their starting pitching at all. I don't like their bullpen. We'll see what Batista can do coming back, but I don't see it. I know they're going to mash teams out of the park a lot this year, and they're going to rely on that offense, and they're loaded on offense. Don't get me wrong, but they had a chance this offseason to make a huge impact with their roster and spend some money, and they just straight up chose not to do it. And so I'm not. Tyler O'Neill is fine. I think he's a downgrade from Santander, but we'll see. And speaking of Santander, I have the Blue Jays finishing in second because I really like the addition of Max Scherzer with the playoff experience. I really like their lineup. Their starting pitching is solid if you look at it on paper. I think they need to stay healthy, obviously, just like any other club. But I expect a big bounce back year from Bichette. I expect Guerrero to go absolutely bananas this year in a contract year. And I expect the Blue Jays to go all in at the trade deadline, too, if they need to, for whatever it is that they need. And then in first place, I have the Red Sox, which is kind of crazy because when I was starting my predictions at first, I was like, there's no way I'm going to pick the Red Sox. But you look at that pitching rotation, man, and it's solid. And you add Crochet to that, and they look really good, man. And part of me is a little sentimental when it comes to the Red Sox because I really want to see Trevor Story stay healthy. I really want to see him succeed. And I think he is the key to their offense this year. If he can stay healthy, he will obviously produce there with the Green Monster. I think he's a huge, huge part of that team. And I just really love the direction that they're going. They kept Cora, so he's able to, get another year with his team. And I really like the Red Sox to come out on top in the East. So I've got the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Tigers, the Rangers, and the A's.
I like those predictions. We'll wait till my predictions because without spoiling anything, there's a couple of them that I did agree with you, Adam, on those predictions. But before we get to my predictions, so that was the American League for Adam. I want to hear Tom's American League predictions. So, Tom, it's all yours.
All right. Well, some of them I agree with, some of them I don't. So you're going to see a little bit of similarities and some differences. So, as of course, we'll start on the West Coast. Going from 5-1, no surprise. Angels have. I mean, the one thing I want to see out of the Angels is I'd love to see Mike Trout play over 130, 35 games, so we can enjoy some more of Mike Trout because I'm sure not just Angel fans, but baseball fans in general want to see more of him. It was amazing in limited playing time last year how he was still playing in his early 30s. So we just want to continue to see as much greatness from him as we can while he's still playing. But of course, it's kind of a funny little joke here. They signed former White Sox players Yoan Moncada, Tim Anderson, and Yolmer Sanchez. So all they need to do is sign Jose Abreu, and they've got the entire 2019 White Sox starting infield. So there's a funny little tidbit for you. But I have them finishing last. Anthony Rendon, at some point they're going to eventually just cut bait and move on. So I don't expect him to play at all this year. Especially I think it's a hip that he's dealing with. So I think his career is over. But anyway, Angels finishing last. This may come as a shocker. I was shocked at the bold moves they made this offseason, adding Rooker to the extension, signing Luis Severino, extending Lawrence Butler, but I'm not as high on the A's just yet. Because again, they're going from what is a crap hole, I'm trying not to swear here, of Oakland Coliseum to now a minor league facility in Sacramento. It's going to be interesting to see how they react to playing in a much smaller ballpark with different facilities. Probably I can almost guarantee there's going to be no possums living in the ceiling like we all know the stories in the Oakland Coliseum. Up in the visiting press box, guys talk about the possums living in the ceiling. But still, the Oakland Athletics the Sacramento A's, which by the way, as we told in the pregame show, I'm not sure anybody's heard, they're going to have ATH on the ticker for their scores. They're not going to have SAC for Sacramento. So even though they're in Sacramento, they're going to be known as the Ats, but again, Oakland still, say what you want about John Fisher. They still have a little bit of a bright future that could be trending upwards. So we'll see. 3, like you, Adam, I'm not as high on the Astros. They have too many pitching injuries, including also, I feel bad. We haven't seen Lance McCullers Jr. in a long time. He was a top tier arm. I really feel bad for him. He committed to them with an extension that bought out 2 years of his free agency years. So again, he's getting guaranteed money paid, but again, he was a very good pitcher. So it's unfortunate. If Jose Altuve does move to left field, that's going to be interesting to watch him play left field. I don't know. I'm not just high on this team anymore. I don't think that the juggernaut they used to be, and they're not really supplementing it with their minor league system, at least seemingly. So, but we'll see. But I have them finishing third. Now, here's a shocker for you. I do have the Mariners finishing second. I know again, their pitching is still so elite. I know it's going to do great things for them. Maybe they'll get, if they're in it, they'll get bold at the deadline. Maybe they'll add somebody. I think I got a feeling about Julio Rodriguez. I think he's going to have a monster year this year. And some guys got to step up. Maybe Dylan Moore, maybe Cal Raleigh. Somebody will step. Who knows? Somebody's got to step up. I mean, they got a Rosa Reyna now, which is kind of odd, but that's, we'll see how that goes. So I haven't finished second. And I think the Rangers, I think we are officially coming to the end. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. Bruce Bochy is coming to the end officially when he's going to retire for good pretty soon. I really like their team. I still think their pitching staff is good, even if DeGrom is limited to, let's say, 20 starts, and I'm being generous with that number. I'm still a fan of it. It would be kind of interesting if they do make John Gray a closer. I know that was floated around there, so that'd be kind of interesting. I do like the addition of former White Sox third base, first baseman Jake Berger. He has got raw power that if he gets a hold of one, it's going to get hit a country mile. So that'll be interesting. And again, I think this is going to be a bounce back year for Jonah Heim. I think he struggled with an injury, so that'll be good for him. So I have the Rangers winning the division. And outside of them, I don't have anybody else being one of the wild card teams aside from this. So the Mariners, I think, are the only team from the AL West making the playoffs. Going to the AL Central, do I even need to say it? Who's finishing fifth? Do I need to say it? My Chicago White Sox. Now, I will say this. I am hopeful that they'll finish with plus 50 or more wins. I do think we're going to see a number of call-ups this year. I can go into that into detail, but I do think some guys will take a step forward that will replace some of the production and more that they lost with trading Garrett Crochet. Some additions, I do like the Martin Perez addition. I think he'll be a good, stable lefty veteran in the rotation. And again, like I said, I don't want to go on too long, but I know some White Sox fans are upset, are kind of shocked that Colson Montgomery is option, but I don't think he's ready for the big leagues yet, so we'll see. And sorry, White Sox fans also who hear my voice, we're not going to see top prospect Noah Schultz this year. I am 99.9% certain that's not going to happen, but I've been proven wrong before. But again, I hope they finish more than 50 wins, but they're finishing fifth. I don't know now they have a talented roster, but I'm not that high on the Twins here. I'm sorry. I don't think Carlos Correa is going to play over 100 games. Again, Adam, you point out, they got good pitching. They've got great pitchers. I think that could help carry them. Not as good a pitching staff as the Mariners, though. But maybe Royce Lewis continues to success. If he does, great. It's kind of Christian Vasquez is still a solid veteran catcher. I don't know. Again, they can prove me wrong, but I'm not high on them. I have the Twins finishing fourth. I do like Rocco Baldelli as a manager, though. I got to say that. I think he's one of the more underrated managers in the game. Now, this one I could be surprised with again. The Guardians I have finishing third. Somehow they find a way to get things done. They are a pitching factory. They just know how to produce pitchers, and we can go down the line of how many they've done. I would like to see, again, want to see the best compete. I hope we get to see more Shane Bieber this year. I have the Guardians, and again, Jose Ramirez. I don't even need to say anything about that guy. He's incredible, even as he gets older with age. Here's some interesting ones for you. I have the Tigers finishing second. What amazed me, of course, it is amazing. They were sellers at the deadline. They made the playoffs. They got through the first round, and they made it. I think it was game 5 in this. I think it was game 5. But anyway, and again, Jack Flaherty is back. He's going to be motivated to chase hopefully a multi-year deal that he'll sign. So I have the Tigers finishing second. And again, the Royals, I know you did mention, of course, Lugo is a good veteran addition. You got Cole Higgins. But 3 of their top pitching prospects who are in the range of the 21 to 30 are in AAA, so we could see them this year. They're not the top ranked guys, but that could definitely help that guards. Bobby Witt Jr. to me, that guy's a stud. And Salvador Perez, I don't know how, but he continues to stay good with age. He's kind of like fine wine, just gets better with age, I guess. I don't know. So, but again, and Vinny Pasquantino is a pretty underrated hitter, so I like to see more. He could have a good year. So again, I have the Royals finishing the division, winning the division, excuse me. And I actually have the Tigers being one of the wild card teams. I think they're going back to the postseason. So we'll see how the chicks out. And of course, I will go through the AL East now. Adam, this is where I differ with you on a couple things. I will agree with you on one thing. I do think the Rays are going to finish last. I think, of course, again, they're going to be playing in a minor league ballpark. Their stadium situation, ownership situation is just a mess. Stuart Sternberg I think MLB is going to pressure him to sell. I think he's gone. But the Rays, again, they do surprise us. They're also a pitching factory that just turns out pitchers and finds underrated value of guys who are cast-offs. But I don't see much. Here's a big difference where the first big difference you and I have. I think there's too much drama going on in the Blue Jays clubhouse. I just get a bad vibe from that team. Again, I'm not questioning their talent with Jose Barrios. Vlad Jr. is going to go off because he wants that big contract. Bichette, the same thing. They added Santander. Again, I can be proven wrong, but I'm just not that high on them. So I had them finishing fourth. Garrett Cole is still a big loss. They did add Max Fried. They added Devin Williams, arguably one of, if not the best closer in the game. The Yankees I had finishing third. I think there's a big question around what are you going to get out of Paul Goldschmidt? Is DJ LeMahieu still going to even play? What is Jazz Chisholm? Is Stanton going to be healthy? Judge is Judge. Don't have to worry about production out of him. And, outside of Rodon and also Luis Gil, he's going to be out for a while too. I just found that out yesterday. So what is Rodon and Free going to do to carry the team? Stroman going to be, what kind of factor is he going to be? Again, although I must say the bringing back of Tim Hill, that's going to be an underrated help for them, I think. And I don't think they're going to no offense to Nestor Cortez. I don't think they're going to miss him that much. I think he'll do better than he did in New York and Milwaukee, but we'll see on that one. So Yankees third. And even though they didn't make any moves, the Orioles, this is a do or die thing for their core. They've got to just kind of, Brendan Hyde, just give him a little kick in the you-know-where and get him moving here. So I got the Orioles finishing. I think the Red Sox, I think they're really going to surprise people. Again, I hope Trevor Story plays over more than 140 games and shows a little bit more of the great things we saw in Colorado. And I got Garrett Crochet as a potential guy to win the Cy Young this year. I think that's going to be a dynamic, and I got him starting opening day for them as well. But yeah, the Red Sox, and I got them winning division. And out of that, I also have the Orioles being the second wild card team in the American League. So, plus also for those who don't know, I married into a Red Sox family. That's not the reason I picked him, but I'm high on him. Also, I think Tristan Cassis is going to have a very good year as well. I'm pretty high. I'm pretty high on him as well.
Yeah. When you talked about the Orioles, I was thinking about it yesterday when I was doing my predictions. It's like, this is, like Tom said, do or die. Like, if they have another losing season, because they've already had a couple of playoff losses in the first round exits, this is a team that has World Series aspirations. If they don't make the playoffs or if they get knocked out in the first round again, I mean, not a great start for the new ownership in Baltimore. And this is a city that is dying for a World Series championship. First step was just get back to the playoffs. They did that. The problem is they haven't yet to take that next step as a team, and really, I think they're banking on a lot of players, Jackson Holiday, Colton Cowser, a bunch of other guys. But yeah, and I agree with Adam that I don't like the rotation one bit. They might have one or two decent pictures, but they don't have a solidified ace. I was looking at their fan graphs. They don't really have anybody. I mean, Rodriguez, question mark. There's a lot of injury prone guys on that team. They don't have John Means anymore. They lost Corbin Burns. Their bullpen is arguably, other than the lineup, is the best part of the team. The rotation is the weakest part, and it's been that way for the last few years now. They just did not address that in the offseason. So, but yeah, those are Adam's and Tom's American League predictions. Let's top this off with my American League predictions. So let's head out west. And I'm going to agree with Adam and Tom. I have the Angels finishing in 5th place. I absolutely I feel bad for the fans. I really do. And I know Adam might not, but I feel bad for the city. They lost Otani. They lost, Mike Trout. You're just banking on him staying healthy. But even if he doesn't, which I don't expect him, sorry, but I don't expect him to stay healthy because as players get older, your body starts to wear down. I just don't like where the Angels are headed. Their farm system is by far the worst in baseball, ranked 30th out of 30 teams. The future is not very bright right now in that city. The rotation, I don't like it one bit. Um, and I think in that rotation, they still have Tyler Anderson from Meraki, which still kind of baffles me, even though he's not that great. But you know what? They need pitching help. They need arms. And then, the bullpen, I really like Joe Boyle. The guy is electric, but I do expect him to get traded maybe this offseason or the next couple of seasons, unless if the Angels extend him and they want him to be a part of that bullpen. I think that's the correct guy. I hope I'm not getting the wrong pitcher. But anyways, yeah, I just do not like Anthony Rendon. He needs to be off that team, and he probably will by the end of this year for sure, if not sooner. So I have the Angels in fifth. Fourth place, I'm going to go with the Mariners. I agree with Adam. When Justin Turner made those comments, a couple weeks ago about how, okay, if I'm going to come back, am I going to be the only guy you're going to bring in, in the offseason? Like the Mariners, that shows you how much the Mariners did in the offseason, which is nothing, right? I love their pitching rotation. I mean, the Rockies could die trying to get those pitchers. I mean, it would be awesome that for the Rockies to have pitchers like Logan Gilbert, Bryce Miller, a bunch of those guys, right? But the offense is not going to be good, other than Julio. I do like Luke Raley a little bit, but he's 30 years old now. He's getting older, and I love Cal Raleigh, one of the best catchers in baseball. But I just, with what's going on in Seattle, not good vibes. I don't think there would be a horrible team, but I just don't think they're going to be a playoff team. I don't see them in the playoffs. So third place, who do we have here? We have the not Oakland, Sacramento A's, or just the Athletics. I was considering putting them at 2, but then I'm like, I have a feeling the Astros, they're going to do something weird, man. Like I really don't like of course they're going downhill, but I just have a feeling that the Astros, they're still going to have a card up their sleeve. I feel like last year, some guys were off, they were injured, and Altuve, he's getting older. I understand that, and they did lose Kyle Tucker, but they still have a decent lineup. I don't like their first base. I mean, Singleton is their starting first baseman. Like I really don't get that. Their farm system's not that great. But I don't know. I feel like this is going to be the last year the Astros will be good. So, I don't know. I just have that gut feeling. The rotation is still decent. I like Hunter Brown, but the 3 through 5 guys, I think Aaron Getty, he's nice. I like him, but the bullpen is still good. So, I like some of the arms. So that's why I have the Astros ultimately in second place over the Athletics. The reason why I chose the Athletics at 3 is I just feel like of course they're going to improve. This team, like you guys said, a lot of people have been, I mean, deservedly so. I mean, over the ownership and front office, it's not been great, but I love how they extended Brent Rooker. Lawrence Butler, to Adam's point, is going to have a big year. He just got extended, if I'm not mistaken. Their lineup is pretty good. They have a lot of bright young players. They just drafted their shortstop a couple years ago. He's going to be playing for them this year. And then, of course, they have Shea Langoliers as their catcher, who I like. And the rotation, I like the rotation. I really do. And they have some flamethrowers in that bullpen. Like Adam's point, they're playing in the minor league stadium. I think their offense is going to be really good, especially playing in the minor league ballpark out west in Sacramento. which is a AAA ballpark, right? So you're bound to see really good offense. I know it's California, it's near the coast, but still in AAA ballparks, you're going to see a lot of balls flying out of there. So give me the A's at 3, Astros at 2, and then number 1, I got the Texas Rangers. Clearly, last year they were under a hangover from the World Series from 23. This team's going to get back on its wheels and it's going to go back into the playoffs. And I think could be a World Series contending team. Will they go to the World Series? My feeling says no. I don't think they'll get back there, but I think they're going to go on a deep playoff run. But yeah, like they have to ride on Jacob deGrom to, hopefully he can stay healthy for them. John Gray, who is getting older, but there's been talks about him being the bullpen or being a closer. I think Nathan Eovaldi is still there. And I like some of the arms that they have in the bullpen, right? They got Jock Peterson this offseason, who I think could be a really good bat for them. The lineup is very much kind of what it was a couple years ago, right? So I just feel like the Rangers, they're going to go over that hangover and they're going to win that division. So give me the Rangers winning that division. So the playoff teams for the West, for the AL West, will be the Rangers, and then for the Astros, I have them sneaking in as the last wildcard spot. So moving on to the AL Central. Again, sorry, Tom. I got to put the White Sox at 5. I do believe that they are getting better. As a matter of fact, I think there's a chance they might even avoid 100 losses this year. But I still think that they're probably going to be right around where the Rockies were last year in terms of wins and losses. They're going to be right around 60-ish wins. They're going to show some improvement. I think they're going to call up some of the prospects. Colson Montgomery, I think we'll see him by the season's end. The rotation, it's whatever. Bullpen, same thing. Lineup is I actually kind of like the lineup. There's some pieces there I like. Joey Gallo, I'm interested to see what he's going to do there. He's going to strike out a lot like he usually does, but I like some of the young guys that you have there. And will they trade Lewis Robert this year? Yes, but I'm curious to see who else is going to break out for your White Sox there. So yeah, White Sox at 5. Coming at number 4, I got the Minnesota Twins. I just feel like there's not a lot of thump there. Yeah, you have Carlos Correa, you have Buxton, but like both of you guys have said, it's just they have to stay healthy, and they're banking on those guys staying healthy, because if they don't stay healthy, if they're out, the Twins are in trouble. And of course, this is an up in the air division, like it always is. Like you never know who's going to win that division. It could be the Tigers, could be the Guardians, could be the Royals. I like the rotation. I like their bullpen. I love, I believe it's Griffin Jacks in the bullpen. He's on my fantasy team. Or I wish he was on my fantasy team. If I do well this year, we'll see. But which I never really do well in fantasy baseball. But yeah, Twins at 4. I like the Twins. I don't think they'll be bad. I have them right around 500 this year. So if you're Twins fans out there, sorry, but maybe hopefully the Twins prove me wrong. Coming in at 3rd place, I'm going to go with the Kansas City Royals. I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. I'm not saying last year was a fluke by any means, but I just feel like there are holes on this team. I love the rotation. Cole Reagan's Cy Young candidate, along with Tarek Skubal of the Tigers. And I like Seth Lugo. I like Michael Wacha, despite Michael Wacha is getting up there in age. He's been around in the big leagues, I feel like, forever. But yeah, with Salvador Perez, that's another thing. How long is he going to go? You're probably going to see another 20 plus, 30 plus home run season from Perez. But like I said, there are holes on this team. I just feel like they could use a little bit more offense. I think Hunter Renfroe is still there in Kansas City. One guy I'm intrigued to see if he makes his debut this year is Jack Caglione, who they drafted last year. I think he has a real shot because he's been tearing it up, guys, in AAA this year. And I'm really excited for him. And looking back, I'm now like, okay, maybe the Rockies should have gone for him. Especially with the recent news coming out today. I don't know if you guys saw this on X, but Charlie Condon, he is out with a significant, I believe, arm or wrist injury, because in one of the backfield games, Condon drove for a ball or something and did something with his arm. So hopefully Condon is okay. He recovers soon. But yeah, I think if Caglone comes to that team and he provides power and thump, the Royals could be a second or even a first place team. But as of right now, I have them in third place. Second place, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Guardians. This is a team that, even though their offense is probably going to be one of the worst in the American League, their pitching is going to carry them to the playoffs as a wild card team. Shane Bieber, I think he'll be coming back soon. They really need him. Of course, Tristan McKenzie. I like some of the other guys that they have in that rotation that are young. And I think they have a little bit of fire in them. I relate, of course, Cleveland, they always do well with starting rotation guys. They know how to develop pitchers, right? So, the bullpen is obviously going to be electric, one of the best, if not the best in baseball. Clase is their closer. If he comes in, game over. You can say goodnight for your team. Offense, like I said, is going to be pretty bad, other than J Ram and maybe one other guy. I like Joe Kenzie Noel. But it really not a whole lot of offense here, a lot of thump with the Guardians. But they use their pitching to win games, not their offense. So, and then first place, I got my Detroit Tigers. I drank the purple, not the purple Kool-Aid. I drank the Tigers Kool-Aid last year. I'm gonna drink it again. I feel like this is it's a generational shift, and I think it changed once AJ Hinch got here to Detroit. And I just feel like this team's ready to win. And I know there are some concerns with some of the starting rotation guys, like Reese Olson. But dude, you got Tarek Skubal, who I think could definitely win a Cy Young again. I mean, the guy won a triple crown this past year, right? And yeah, the rotation I think could be really, really solid. I think Kenta Maeda is still there, which I think he's actually a decent fifth starter for you. Bullpen, I do have a couple question marks, but I think it's kind of like the Rockies. There are some pieces there that can win you ball games. And then you look at the lineup. I think Spencer Torkelson is going to have a big bounce back year. Last year did not play whatsoever well at all. I mean, he got sent down at one point. Did not play much. But yeah, Kerry Carpenter. Really like Jace Young, who I wanted the Rockies to draft a couple of years ago. And instead they got Gabriel Hughes, which I'm happy about. But I really like Jace Young. They got Gleyber Torres from the Yankees, who I think is going to have a big year. And I think the Yankees will miss Gleyber Torres. They got Colt Keith, who I think he was extended last year. He's going to be a big, massive player for them. I think he definitely has the potential to hit 20 plus home runs this season. And especially in Detroit, hey, you can definitely use that in a ballpark like that. And their bench, maybe not my favorite, especially with Javier Baez and Zach McKinstry. But and then, like I said, the rotation, you got Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson, Casey Mize, and Kenta Maeda. So, yeah, I like the Tigers. So I'm going to go with the Tigers to win the Central there. And then we go to the AL East. In fifth place, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Rays. I just feel like, this year is not going to be the Rays' year. Just going on with the team, with the ownership, the stadium situation. I do think that the Rays will be a right around 500 team. I don't think they're going to be that bad. I just feel like that AL division is just a battle. A bunch of teams vying for that first place spot, those wild cards. I have 3 teams making the playoffs in that division. So Rays, love their pitching rotation. Offense, I don't like it. That simple. Fourth place, I'm going to go with who did I have? I need to double check here. I think it was the Blue Jays. Yeah, it's the Blue Jays. I agree with Tom. It's just there's a lot going on over there that I really don't think is going to bode well for them by the end of the season. I think Vladdy will be out. I think Bichette will be out of there. The rotation, they have Gosman, they have Barrios, and I think they still have Alek Manoah, but he hasn't been normal for the last few years. He did bounce back, I think, a little bit last year, but like Tom's pointing out, his rating is dropping by the second, man, and it's sad to see because I like Alec Manoah. He was really great for them a couple years ago, but his like I said, his ratings are just going down the roof. So Blue Jays, I think you're going to be right around a 500 team at best, and plus you're playing the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Orioles in that division, and even the Rays. The Rays are going to stay competitive. So, yeah, I have the Blue Jays at 4. Coming at third place, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Orioles. I do have them getting that last, other than the Astros, I do have them getting, I believe, the 5th place wildcard spot. I don't like their rotation. I like their bullpen a little bit. They have Felix Bautista, a couple other guys, Sinel Perez in that bullpen. But you really hope that Jackson Holiday has a big year, which I think he will. It's just that rotation kind of scares me, and they just really did not improve that this offseason. And that's concerning if you're an Orioles fan. They didn't really address that. They lost Corbin Burns, who was massive for them last year, getting to the playoffs, and losing him, that could get you maybe 10 more losses. I mean, you just hope that the bullpen can win you games and the offense can come through. So you just hope that everyone can stay healthy, because if a couple guys on offense goes down and Holiday is still not performing well, this might be a team that might be a 500 team for the Orioles, and you do not want to have another season to where you just have disappointment, where you don't even make the playoffs. And so if you're the Orioles, you're hoping that these guys do well and that they can make a deep playoff run. Coming in second place, I got the New York Yankees. Of course, everyone knows now that Garrett Cole is out of the season, and probably the start of next year with Tommy John surgery. He was trying to avoid that. Unfortunately, that will not happen. So he's out. They still have a decent rotation. They have Max Fried, who I think is going to have a big year. But already to start the spring, they have a whole list of injuries. And that's not a good sign if you're a Yankees fan. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. You still have Aaron Judge. You have Stanton, who is going to be injury prone like he usually is, but he's still going to be there. And Volpe is going to have a great year. So just because of that, I just feel like the Yankees, they're not going to be a super good team, and they might win 90, 92 games ish, right around that area. They're not going to be a 100 team. They're definitely not going to be the team that they were last year when they went to the World Series. The Yankees, they're going to be good, but not that great. So give me the Yankees at 2. And then, of course, number 1, I got the Red Sox. Early this offseason, I would have had the Red Sox at 3rd or 4th place, but adding Bregman, adding some guys to that rotation, I think they're going to be a surprising team. It's been coming. I mean, a lot of people have predicted it over the last couple of years, despite some question marks from the ownership and front office. Like Breslow, very questionable moves, a lot of weird comments over the last couple of years. But yeah, the lineup is good, and of course, we love Trevor Story. You're hoping that he has a big year, because when Trevor Story's healthy, he could be a all-star type of player. Maybe not the player he was in 2017, 2018, where he's MVP caliber. I think those days are gone, but I think he's going to be if he stays healthy, he'll have a big year. And then Duran, I love Duran. He's a MLB The Show out of the park legend. If he stays healthy, that guy could really do well, and he's still young. Tristan Casas, they have a bunch of these guys. Rafaela in the outfield, who is a Gold Glover, and he could win another Gold Glove if not his first one this year. Has fantastic speed, and that's what it kind of. Again, there's some teams out there that kind of reminds me of the Rockies a little bit, that they have tool guys that they have. So yeah, give me the Red Sox at number 1. So those are all of our American League predictions. I know this has been a little bit long, but let us know in the comments down below what you think about our American League predictions. But I'm going to hand it back to Adam here to start off with the National League predictions on the National League side. So we're going to do the same thing, West to East. So Adam, off to you. Yeah.
All right. Well, the West is going to raise some eyebrows. I'll tell you that right now. You said something similar about the vibes around a team. I think it was Toronto, right?
Yeah.
I have that feeling about the Padres. Okay. And so I don't like where they're going. I think they're going to be sellers at the deadline. I don't think that Tatis is going to stay healthy. And I just think that Xander Bogaerts is on the decline. I love Jackson Merrill. I think he might be one of my favorite players in the entire league. But the Padres, I just don't like. I think they're going to complete this collapse that they've been on, because it doesn't feel good over there. It doesn't feel like they have a direction. They lost a lot in the offseason, and I'm just not a fan of that team. I think that they are going to finish last in the National League West, which is probably very surprising to a lot of people because I think a lot of people have them second or third in the division. So somebody has to finish last, right? And it's always baseball season is always a crapshoot. Some teams are 2 injuries away from just being total pretenders. You know what I mean? So I see the Padres as one of those teams, and I do think that Dylan Cease eventually will get dealt because I don't think he's going to sign there. And then in 4th place, I've got the Giants. So people are probably wondering at this point, where are the Rockies? Well, we'll get there in a little bit. But I'm excited about this. So the Giants, I like their pitching.
Yeah.
I like adding Verlander just as a solid veteran presence. I don't think he's going to be lights out or anything. I think we've had this conversation where we've talked about how he's pretty much past his prime and probably shouldn't even be in the league anymore to some people. But their pitching rotation is pretty good on paper. Kyle Harrison needs to take that next step this year for them. Because I think they are expecting a lot out of him, but they still have Robbie Ray and Jordan Hicks, 2 guys that have shown in the past, at least. Robbie Ray has a Cy Young. Jordan Hicks is a guy that has a ton of potential. And so I think the Giants, and adding Willy Adames was a really smart move too. And I have said in the past that the Giants really don't have a direction because they don't. But I do like this lineup. Lamonte Wade's a solid player. Willy Adames, Jung-Ho Lee, if he can stay healthy this year, will be a solid boon for their lineup. Matt Chapman's a solid player. I like that team just in general as a 4th place finish anyway. So, and then in 3rd place, I've got Arizona. So
read it, folks. Read the papers.
Okay, so with Arizona,
yeah,
this is the only year that those 3 guys are going to be in the same rotation, right? So you got Jackson Merrill, you got Gallen, and you've got why am I blanking on his name? Corbin Burns. Thank you. I was going to say Woodruff. I always get those 2 mixed up. This is the only year those 3 guys are going to be in the same rotation. And as good as an addition as Corbin Burns is, there's been a lot of expectations on the Diamondbacks in the past, and they have floundered in those situations. On top of that, I don't love that lineup. I love Ketel Marte. Corbin Carroll's a very, very good player who had a very bad season last year, a huge drop-off. I think he's going to come back and have a good year. But you're looking at a declining player in Eugenio Suarez, which I saw him on the decline as a Mariners fan on his way out of town. That bottom of the lineup just doesn't do anything for me. Pavin Smith, Moreno, Perdomo, it just doesn't scream very scary to me. Jake McCarthy is projected to win a spot in the outfield. He's not really known for offense. Speedster, if he gets on base, he's going to cause some trouble. But I just don't, outside of Carroll, Marte, Naylor, and Gurriel Jr., I'm not scared of that lineup. I may be eating crow by the end of the year, but I don't think Arizona is gonna stick to the expectation. I think everyone is kind of just copy and pasting them into that second spot in the division, just because the Dodgers are obviously the best team in the division. And then people are just like, well, we got to pick between the Padres and the Diamondbacks as to who's going to be. I think they're just picking a team. And I think they're very, very much overlooking my 2nd place National League West team. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Yeah, a lot of people are going to think I'm insane about this. But the times that the Rockies have been good have been when they've come out of nowhere like this with a young team. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about the Washington Nationals in a little bit because I think they're more likely to be like the Arizona Diamondbacks from a couple of years ago, because they got that perfect mix of young guys and veterans, even though I don't think they're going to be very good. Not yet. But I think the Rockies, now that they're finally letting the young guys play, now that we're finally seeing what Zach Veen can do with regular playing time, I think I can't overstate this enough, I think Zach Veen is the difference maker on offense for the Rockies. I think that is going to be the guy that comes in and puts the Rockies on the map and makes people dislike the Rockies even because of the things that he does and the things that he says and the way that he acts on the field and the fun that he has. We all know that most baseball fans, if they're not, most baseball fans don't really like that kind of stuff, right? And so we need someone on this roster to rub people the wrong way. We want to put the Rockies on the map. We want to be fun and exciting, and we want to be a little bit hated. We're tired of being irrelevant. And I think Zach Veen is the guy that's going to come up, whether that be, in May or later in the season. I think he's going to end up being in the outfield. Obviously, this is going to put me in a spot where Chris Bryant's going to get hurt probably 10 games into the season. Hopefully not. But I don't think he's going to stay healthy. There's no reason to believe he's going to stay healthy, right? We don't have any, it's just like somebody's like, well, why don't you trust me? Well, I don't have a reason to trust you,
Yeah.
So we don't have any reason to trust Chris Bryant. And it's not that he doesn't care. He's not a Rendon. It's not that he doesn't want to play. It's not that he hates baseball. It's just that his body just doesn't work well, especially at altitude. So I think the offense is going to shock a lot of people. I think you could see Fernandez and Veen this year. I think you'll see a bounce back year from Nolan Jones, maybe even an MVP type season from Nolan Jones. I have all the faith in the world in Nolan Jones to be what he was a couple of years ago. I don't think that was a fluke. As long as he's healthy, I think he's going to be awesome. And then Brian McMahon in between everybody in that lineup, being protected by Jones or Tovar. I think he's going to have his best season yet. And there's a lot of ifs, I know, with the Rockies. But Chase Dollander is going to have to come in this year and make a huge impact as well on the rotation. And I think he will. I don't think the Rockies pitching is as bad as everyone wants to say it is. Marquez is a very good pitcher when he's healthy, right? And he's shown that he can be the ace of a staff. So I really think that he's going to stay healthy and be really good at the top of the rotation. And people are going to be shocked at this, but I think Kyle Freeland's going to turn back the clock a little bit. This is a guy that's always working on his craft, a guy who's never satisfied with what he's providing on the field. And I think that this year we could see shades of maybe 2017, 2018 Kyle Freeland. Maybe not at an ace level, but I think that he's going to be a really good, solid innings eater for the Rockies. And then when we talk about the bullpen, a lot of people don't talk about this, but those arms in the bullpen that the Rockies have, I think they could be one of the top 5 bullpens in the National League. And in order for this prediction to come true, the Rockies are going to have a top 5 bullpen in the National League, right? Mm-hmm. But I like Vodnik closing games. I think Castillo is probably going to be on the roster at some point early in the season with the Rockies. Unless I'm behind on that and they've already got rid of him, but he's not really a big part of my prediction anyway. But I love the young arms in the bullpen, and I think the Rockies are going to come out of nowhere. Somebody always comes out of nowhere. Why can't it be the Rockies? Why can't it be them? And then number one, the Dodgers. Okay, moving on to the other divisions. We don't like the Dodgers.
Let's not talk about them. This is not a Dodger podcast.
We don't need to spend time glazing the Dodgers. Okay, so in the Central, I want to preface this by saying I really, really love their pitching. Skeens, obviously, Jones, Keller, Bubba Chandler we'll probably see this season. They're going to be pretty good at pitching. But the thing with the Pirates, just like the Mariners, is they refuse to supplement the offense. They just refuse to do it. They don't want to spend money. They don't want to add guys to that offense. And they're just not going to score enough runs, period, to be competitive, unfortunately. And so I've got the Pirates, even though, like I said, you got Bubba Chandler in there. You got Connor Griffin possibly coming up in the next couple of years. He's not going to make any sort of impact this year. So I think that the Pirates are going to finish last, unfortunately. And then I've got the Cardinals, which it was kind of a toss-up because if you look around that lineup around Nolan Arenado, you've got Jordan Walker, who everyone has been waiting to pop onto the scene for 3 or 4 years now. It's like, when is it going to happen? And Nolan Gorman's a great power hitter. He's going to strike out like 35% of the time, though. Not particularly good fielder. And the biggest issue with the Cardinals is that rotation is just, what? I just don't think they're obviously rebuilding, right? And so it makes sense that they're going to have some of the younger guys, and maybe we'll see Tink Hence this year, one of their top prospects in that rotation at some point this year. I think that Nolan Arenado, we all know him at his best. I think he's going to come out with something to prove, and he's going to want to be on a contender by the middle of the season, and I think he will be. Who that contender will be, I'm not quite sure. He probably shouldn't have nixed that trade to Houston, though, because that looks really bad now.
Yeah.
But, I got the Cardinals. There's just nothing there, unfortunately. You got mistreatment of players, too, like the arbitration case with Brendan Donovan. Like, that guy's a solid player, and I think the Cardinals are just – they've lost their Cardinal way, for lack of a better term. The next spot in the Central was a toss-up between the Brewers and the Cubs for me. The Brewers obviously have lost a lot, and I still like that offense. Christian Yelich obviously needs to stay healthy. Their rotation is a bunch of solid pitching that can eat innings up and keep you in games, but they're not going to win games for you. Like Aaron Savali, Quintana. We talked about adding Quintana to the Rockies. Solid innings eater, good pitcher, not a difference maker necessarily. And Nestor Cortez is a decent pitcher who's going to keep you in ball games, but he's not anything that's going to move the meter either. You know what I mean? And so losing their closer, which I'm blanking on names right now. Remind me, Steven.
They used to have Devin Williams.
Devin Williams, that's the one.
Yeah.
I almost said Dylan Williams, sorry. This is what happens when I talk for a long period of time, fellas.
Same guys. The same people.
Devin Williams, that guy's a huge difference maker in the bullpen, right? He was untouched the whole season until Pete Alonso got him in the postseason. So, and yes, relievers are volatile, right? So they can go from season to season and not be quite as effective, and that could be the case. I think the Brewers will be competitive, and by no means I'm going to eliminate them from being in the race. But I just think they've lost too much, and their starting pitching is just not playoff caliber, in my opinion. In second place, I'm going to go with the Cubs. Outside of Kyle Tucker, I don't like that lineup at all. I really don't. I don't see the hype around them, but they are the second best team in the division, in my opinion. I think Seiya Suzuki is an okay player. I don't really see the hype around him. Ian Happ's a good player. Swanson's a good player. Michael Busch could be a nice little power hitter for them. I'm not quite sure I'm sold on them at all. I don't like that pitching staff, to be honest with you, because I think they should have made a move. I thought Corbin Burns was going to end up there, and I don't even think they were in on that. But I do know that Corbin Burns wanted to go closer to home and all that stuff, so that may have been a factor. Imanaga is obviously a really, really good pitcher. That rising fastball is just something else with him. But if you look around that, Justin Steele has shown in the past that he's got some ace potential. But after that, Tyon, Boyd, Ray, like what? That's not a serious – you can't be serious with that as a contender or somebody who thinks they're a contender. I'm not very high on Pete Crow Armstrong, and I should probably preface everything I'm saying by saying I don't like the Cubs at all. So there's that. But the lineup, it's just not exciting to me. I don't see the hype around them. But people are probably going to think I'm nuts for the next one because I do see the hype around this team, and that's the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
I love the addition of Brady Singer. I think they won that trade going away when it comes to dealing off India and getting Singer in return. And then Nick Lodolo, that guy, he may have some of the nastiest stuff that nobody talks about. Or, he's very underrated. Hunter Green, obviously, one of those guys that throws hard and he needs to learn how to pitch, but he obviously has ace potential. I love those top 3 guys, and Andrew Abbott, if he can stay healthy, is obviously a solid pitcher as well. That lineup, though, when you get McLean back and Steer back, and you add that to Ellie De La Cruz, I think Gavin Luck's finally getting a chance to play solid there. Jamer Candelario. I really like the Reds to make some noise this year and win that division, which I think a lot of people are going to think I'm insane. But, they're good enough in a wide open division like that to win it, and I think they will.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving to the East, I prefaced before the Nationals, they have that good mix. Josh Bell's there. They've got good veterans, but those top 3 guys in the lineup, Woods, Cruz, and Abrams,
Mm-hmm.
that has the potential to be super, super exciting at the top of that lineup in Washington. I don't really love their rotation at all, though. Mackenzie Gore obviously has been the center of that big trade with the Padres. But if you look after that, it's just like they're not guys that you can really depend. Jake Irvin is your number 2 projected. I mean, that's not going to get it done, man. I know a lot of people are high on the Nationals, but I think it's mainly because of their offense. They have a lot of young, exciting talent on offense. Like I said, Cruz, Woods, and Abrams are going to be awesome. And you add Nate Lowe to that, who's a solid player, probably hit you 20 home runs this year. Keibert Ruiz, we're still waiting for him, right, to kind of turn that corner and take that next step. Paul DeJong is going to hit home runs, but he's also going to strike out 60% of the time. Solid player, but I think he's probably not even on that team by the time the trade deadline comes. So I've got Washington finishing in last. And then I've got – no, I mixed that up. I'm sorry. I didn't even talk – the Marlins are last.
Yeah.
Because they go without saying. Yeah, so sorry. So then I got the Nationals.
Yeah.
Fourth. Sorry. The Marlins I don't even need to bring up because they're irrelevant.
Yeah.
This one, the top 3 in this division are tough, and I think you guys probably had the same trouble as I did because all 3 of these teams are good. I love the addition of Juan Soto. I love bringing back Alonso. I don't like that pitching rotation in New York at all. Kodai Senga hasn't proven that he can stay healthy. And then after him, you've got David Peterson and Clay Holmes, who's converting to a starter, allegedly. I don't like that move. I don't think they're going to be very good in that area. They're the Mets, so they may spend at the deadline and add a couple pieces, whatever. Their lineup's good, but they don't have the pitching, in my opinion, to do anything. They will be fun to watch, though, with Soto, Lindor. I expect Mark Vientos to have a huge season, possibly be even in the MVP discussion, to be honest with you. I think he's going to hit 30-plus home runs. So that's something to look out for. Just not enough pitching there. And, you can make the big splash move for Juan Soto, which I don't think is going to age very well after, probably age 32. And it's good for now, but they got to get some pitching in there if they're going to contend with while Juan Soto's there with those guys. Second place, I'm going to go with the Phillies. There was a lot of hype around the Braves that I've been reading all week, and I was like, why do people like the Braves so much? And I'll get to that in a moment, but I think the Phillies, I love the addition of Max Kepler, but I don't know if we're going to actually see him this year. So, I think their lineup is still solid. Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Castellanos, Real Muto. Real Muto is probably on the decline as an aging catcher, but still a solid player. The rotation has a lot of potential with Luzardo being in there as the 5. I mean, that's a heck of a 5 if you can get him to reach his potential. But I don't like that they lost Jeff Hoffman. I don't think the bullpen's necessarily as strong as people might think. And I think they'll be good, but I don't quite see them catching up to the Braves. And that leads me to the Braves. Matt Olson's going to have a comeback year. That guy's too good to play the way he did last year again. And then you've got him surrounded by Ozuna, who was absolutely lights out last season. Probably should have won the MVP. I love the addition of Jurickson Profar. And, of course, all of this hinges, though, the Braves, right, on Acuna and Strider coming back. because
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge deal, because Strider, number one, needs to come back and stay healthy. Chris Sale needs to prove that he can be healthy for another season, which has been a struggle for him his entire career. But Schwallenbach, I love that guy as a 3 or 4. I mean, if you have him, Sale, Lopez, and Schwallenbach as your top 4 pitchers, you're going to win a lot of games. And so I really love the direction they're going. And let's not forget, this is the Braves. If they need to, they'll make a smart trade. And as soon as they make a smart trade for a guy, they'll lock him up like they do. They have a ton of talent on that team still. And obviously, as baseball fans, we really hope that Ronald Acuna comes back and is the Ronald Acuna that we've seen him be in the past, because baseball needs that kind of player. And so I think the Braves are going to end up winning that division. So I've got the Atlanta Braves, the Phillies, the Reds, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and the Rockies in the playoffs in the National League. And you guys can call me crazy, and that's fine, but that's what I'm going with. Thank you.
Alrighty, Tom. I'm curious to see how you're going to respond to that.
Well, first of all, I just want to respond to a comment that we had in here about something. Wildly innocent, the White Sox will pick 10th this year, even though they had the worst record in baseball history due to the new draft rules installed in the last CBA. They cannot pick more. They cannot pick in the top 10 this year, so that will reset next year. But for this year, they are stuck with the 10th pick, so they will not be included in the lottery. So just to answer that, and by the way, Lux and who else? Lux, thank you for your kind words. I do appreciate that. And someone else said something. Southern Montfort, Team Montfort, thank you so much. I also appreciate your kind words. Anyway, but we'll see if those kind words last when with my picture, because I'm not drinking. I'll preface my comments by saying I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid as much as Adam is just yet. But again, surprises do happen. Not to say I'm not rooting for our team, but it's just I'm not there just yet. Again, west to east. Here's the thing. I will say this is the year I believe the Rockies will come out of last place, so I'm prefacing with that. Here's the thing. The Giants, you added Willie Adames. I don't think that's going to age well. It's short for a shortstop. The Matt Chapman, I do like the extension, even though you think you had to overpay for it a little bit due to the fact that due to political reasons, it's tough for the Giants to lure free agents to that city, and that's a whole separate discussion. Justin Verlander, he is going to be DFA by June. He's not going to last the whole season. He is done. He is toast. He's just I saw this on the depth chart. They have listed him as the third starter. If that's your third starter, you got a problem. Logan Webb, give him credit, but one pitcher can't carry a pitching staff. Chapman, again, Wade is a formidable, underrated hitter, but again, Giants, they're finishing last place. I don't see much coming out of this team. And again, Justin Verlander, he's going to get DFA'd and he is going to retire, and someday he will go into the Hall of Fame. So, JV, congratulations on an excellent career, but this is your last ride, so enjoy it while it lasts. Not to be mean, but I'm sorry. Anyway, so I have the Giants finishing last place. They got some Buster Posey. He's got a tough test. He's got a really tough job ahead of him. I give the guy a lot of credit for trying to do it, but good luck to him. I have our Colorado Rockies finishing 4th place, and it hinges on a couple of things. We know we can talk for hours about what we think. I do think this lineup will come together a little better. I do see Nolan Jones putting together a campaign for Comeback Player of the Year. I see a couple of guys being in the conversation for Silver Sluggers. I think Bretton Doyle will win the Platinum Glove Award. I'm calling it now. Book it. Mark it down. I think he's winning the NL Platinum Glove this year. Bretton, I'm going for you, buddy. You're winning a gold, but I think you're getting platinum this year.
He better.
You're going platinum. I think you're going platinum this year, so I'm rooting for you, pal.
Yeah.
Again, also, he hit a mammoth home run today. Jordan Beck, I think he's going to make a case. I think he's my surprise case pick for Rookie of the Year. So keep an eye. And again, we have a history of developing good Tennessee Volunteers. So Jordan Beck, I think he's going to have a little bit of an under the radar year. So keep an eye on him. But again, I think we take a step out. Adam, I do agree with you. I don't think Kyle Freeland's going to get to 2018 Kyle Freeland. I would say he's going to be a reliable starting pitcher this year. And I do think I'm going to make a prediction. I think 3 of our starters are going to have 25 or more starts. And Marquez, I'm not going to make any predictions on the guy yet, but I hope he just has a solid season. That's all I'll say about him. So Rockies in 4th. Now, again, this team has got another ownership problem. And I guess you could say that always trickles down. I think the Padres are going to finish third. I just think the talent they still have is going to carry them to at least a third place finish. Now, the Rockies, I think, could leap them. But again, I'm taking the safe bet here with the veteran. The veteran talent could carry past our young talent. But again, that ownership situation is going to be a battle. It's going to be probably some lawsuits are going to get filed between the two sides with the widow and the brothers. So again, that's going to be just a whole chaotic mess that, good thing we're not involved in, or at least it's not our ownership group is involved in much. So again, but I also think Dylan, if they're out of it when by the deadline, Dylan Cease is going to get traded. I still think his best look is the mustache. The full beard does look good on him, but I think the mustache is a little bit better of a look for him. Machado, I think he's going to really start declining. Again, I'm not a Manny Machado. I think he's going to take a serious step. Tatis, I don't know what I'm not going to even comment. I don't even really that much. But yeah, Padres finish third. Now here's where I differ. I think the Diamondbacks are going to finish second. I'm a little high on them. I love the rotation of Burns, Kelly, and I'm drawing a blank. I liked Eduardo Suarez as the fourth starter. I'm drawing a blank. Who's that third?
Gallon.
Gallon.
Gallon is two, Kelly as third, and then Suarez the fourth. I love that rotation. I really, really like it.
I think Brandon Pfaadt is also an option, but I don't know if he'll be in the rotation to start opening day.
No, I don't think Paul. What's up?
I think it's 5.
I think I don't think the loss of Paul Sewald is going to hurt them much. I do like I can't remember his name in the back end. Either way, I think Gabriel Moreno is very underrated as a catcher. I think he is one of, if not the best defensive catcher in the game. And there's a lot to be said because I think catcher is the most important defensive position in baseball. And I think it's going to be good. Suarez, I think, and I agree with you, he's going to be a non-factor. He might even get demoted or optioned down for the rest of the season. I'm interested to see how Gerardo Perdomo does this year. I'm a little high on him. I think Corbin Carroll, I wouldn't call him he's going to get back to like a top 25 player. I think he could get back to a top 50 player. But again, either way. So I think this is going to, and again, Torey Lovullo, I think he is one of the most underrated managers in baseball. I think he's going to hold this team together. So, and I think Burns is going to have a Cy Young worthy season. I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I think he could finish in the top 5. So I got the Diamondbacks at least challenging the Dodgers for something here. But again, whatever. If Dodgers win the division, I don't need to, like Adam, I'm going to move on. Anyway, yeah, exactly. Who cares? Anyway, but whatever. Anyway, moving on to the Central, this is, I think the Cardinal way is just really just out of the luff right now. I mean, you have, Chaim Bloom is set to be the heir apparent to John Mozeliak. The team is in flux. The front office is flux. The fans are PO'd to no extent. I can tell you, even though I don't live in St. Louis, I can hear the screaming from here in Chicago. So, yeah, I feel bad for Nolan. I feel bad for the guy. I know he wants a ring so bad, but I just, now maybe if he accepted that trade to the Astros, would I have changed my AL West predictions? Maybe, but we'll see. So again, Cardinals last. There's not much to talk about. I do also feel bad for Sonny Gray because he committed to them on a multi-year deal, but I think he has only one more year left. So we'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. I have the Pirates finishing 4th. I think it's going to be, I think you got a couple of interesting things to worry about with them. I don't know why people are so high on O'Neal Cruz playing center field. I'm sorry. Going from shorts, he's a great athlete, don't get me wrong, but going from shortstop to center field, I mean, it's not like this isn't like a video game where you can just move guys around like with ease and such like that. Some people have him in their top 10 center fielders in baseball. Excuse me? Yeah. Again, I just don't get it.
And they didn't mention Brenton Doyle. That's the worst part.
Thank you. Someone is actually agreed. Well, again, we're homers, so we can say that either way. But anyway, I think Skeen and Jared Jones are going to be one of the more underrated top of the rotation duos this year. I am also interested to see how Brian Hayes does this year offensively. But yeah, I have the Pirates finishing 4th, and I'm going to take flack for this. Maybe not, but my next two could flip-flop with each other depending who performs together as a whole. I have the Cubs finishing 3rd. I think one of their top prospects, Matt Shaw, who's a third baseman, he could put himself in the conversation for Rookie of the Year. The guy has some serious bat to ball skills. and some untapped power. So keep an eye on him. They passed on Matt Chapman because they have faith in him. So here's his time to shine. Dansby, he's going to be a capable guy. Nico, he's still recovering from surgery. Now, here's the thing. You acquired Kyle Tucker. Are you going to extend him? What are you going to do? I mean, that's because I got a buddy who's a diehard Cub fan. He has little to no faith after this season because you don't have Kyle Tucker knocked down. I think Jamison Tyone is a free agent. Shota Imanaga, he did very well last year. Picor Armstrong, can he hit the base? The guy can run like the wind, but can he get on base? Can he make good contact? Can he be the offensive guy they need? So there's quite a few question marks, but this next team is the same thing. I got the Reds finishing second. I don't need to talk about Ellie De La Cruz. I think the guy's a superstar. I do like the addition of Gavin Lux. I think that could really pan out well for them. I think, again, Adam, I agree. Brady Singer, that could be a very underrated addition to complement Hunter Green and a couple of the other very underrated arms. I can't think of them off the top of my head. But I do like the addition of Gavin Lux. I think they'll help. I don't think they're going to miss Jonathan India too much. But again, I have the Reds finishing second. And here, I'm going with the Brewers to go back to back. Here's the thing. People were saying, oh, they're screwed because they traded away Corbin Burns. They won the division. They traded away Devin Williams. They're screwed again. I think they're going to win it again. I do like Jackson Churio. I think Rhys Hoskins is a very underrated veteran addition at first base. I do like William Contreras, a catcher. He does take after his brother. I think he's a little bit better defensively than Wilson. So just a point there. Christian Yelich. Oh God, it feels so bad for the guy. That back when a position player specifically has that back injury, I feel so bad for the guy. I hope he can somehow help in some certain fashion, but I still think this Brewers team. And again, you also another underrated loss. They lost Craig Counsell, but Pat Murphy, he was Craig Counsell's protege, and he's doing a good job. And by the way, to Cub fans, if I were you, I'd be screaming at Jed Hoyer. You got the highest paid, well, now the second highest paid manager because Dave Roberts signed a new contract. You should be screaming at Jed Hoyer for not upgrading the team. But I think no more. So anyway, I got the Brewers winning the division. Going to the National League East. Adam, it's okay to forget the Marlins are going to be a non-factor. It's okay. We're not going to hate you. The only thing I'm going to keep watching on the Marlins is two things. One thing. Who's getting Sandy Alcantara? If he proves he is back, he's getting traded. There's no question in my mind. He's getting traded. The only question is to whom. That's the only question. So
Not
that's
the Dodgers.
No, they have enough pitching. So so the question is, one thing is it's the Sandy Alcantara sweep. First of all, can he get back to where he was? And we got the Sandy Alcantara sweepstakes. So Marlins, you're finishing last. They're finishing with the worst record in baseball. Yes, I think the White Sox are going to have a better record than they will. Here's the thing. The Nationals, I agree with you, Adam. I like some of the talent. I do like bringing Josh Bell back. He's a good veteran. I think he can still help in some fashion. I'm looking forward to seeing how Dylan Cruz this year, how his staying power is with the team. I want to see also Mackenzie Gore. He was the top rated pitching prospect with the Padres until he came over in the Juan Soto trade. I'm interested to see how he does. CJ Abrams, I don't know if is there really that many off the field issues with the guy? He went to the casino, he stayed out late, he showed up an hour and a half before game time. So we'll see. But the Nats, they have a lot of young talent, so they could take a step forward. But the question is, I don't think they're getting out of the bottom two. So Nationals finishing fourth. Now, oh God, these next two, again, I had a tough call. But I ended up picking the Mets finishing third. Again, the Juan Soto contract. Congratulations, Scott Boras. You have the record once again. Good for you. I'll give you a little golf clap here. Good for you. Again, I don't like their pitching. Kodai Senga, can he even get on the mound this year? That's the problem. Also, I think Quintana is going to be an underrated addition for the Brewers, by the way, and because he is a workhorse in terms of eating up innings. The Mets, the pitching staff is Alonso's back and Lindor. That offense is going to be carrying the team. So maybe Edwin Diaz really is the X factor that motivates that pitching staff, or maybe somebody comes out of nowhere. We'll see. But I got the Mets finishing third. Now, here's the little bit of an interesting thing with the Braves. That offensive core is good. Again, What's Acuna's factor going to be? What is Strider's factor going to be? Is he going to be the same pitcher, if not better, than he was? The loss of Max Fried could really hurt him. Chris Sale, I do believe the guy has gotten his injury problems that he had in Boston behind him. I think he has returned. And again, I'm so happy he won a Cy Young. He rightfully earned that. So again, we'll see. But again, one pitcher can't carry a rotation. I don't know if Reynaldo Lopez can beat. They have him listed as the number 2 starter on the depth chart. I don't think he's a number 2 starter. I'm sorry. Again, the guy who saw him pitch in Chicago for a long time, I don't know. So the Braves, but I got a feeling this could be maybe, I don't want to say a downfall, but this could be their last hurrah as a top tier team in the National League. They could move back to the middle, and you don't want to be in the middle. And I think Brian Snitker is nearing retirement. If not this year, I think next year. But again, he's been fantastic as their manager. So I got the Braves finishing second. And I got the Phillies win the division. And here's the thing. I do agree with you. Realmuto catchers, they decline faster than others. I still think he's formidable as a defender, given his offensive production will decline. But I think this is a year where they could really just catch fire and ride it all the way to late in October. I think Harper wants it so bad. I think that whole team wants it so bad. And those fans are starving for some postseason glory and spraying the champagne again. So they're not my World Series pick. I'm not saying that, but I think they're one of my favorites to make it to the Fall Classic. In terms of playoffs, I got, again, division winners, Dodgers, Brewers, Phillies. My 2 wildcard teams are the Diamondbacks and the Reds. That's my playoff team. So again, we'll see.
My predictions are the Rockies go 162-0 and we win the freaking fracking World Series. Video over. Let's go. No, I like those predictions, but for the Rockies, listen, starting off with the NL West, I'm not going to be as high on the Rockies as Adam and maybe Tom a little bit here, but the Rockies, they will improve this year. But I just don't see them improving a whole lot just because of the division and everything. But I do have them resting right around 65 to 70 wins. I think it's going to be a massive step forward. Despite the record might be a little bit still bad, I think that we're going to see Chase Dollander really come up and show people that he's the future ace. And I think we're going to see some more prospects like we've been talking about the entire time of this podcast, finally making their debuts, and being a part of this lineup moving forward, and the Rockies moving away from some of their veteran players. Will McMahon get traded? That's a conversation for another time. But, what's going to happen with Condon? What's going to happen with Amador? And again, we'll have to wait and see. But I think we're going to see more transitions heading into this year. We're going to see an improvement. And you just can't tell me that this team, again, I'll get to the Marlins in just a minute because, again, we got to get out of here. And we want to thank those who are still listening to us, to the pod so far. But you can't tell me that this team is worse than the Marlins, right, in terms of talent and even pitching wise. And far like the Marlins farm system and the Rockies farm system are very much close. But in terms of talent, I think the Rockies are much better than the Marlins at the moment. And the Marlins were actually one game better than the Rockies last year. So that tells you how much I think the Rockies will improve this year. But just because of the division, I think the Rockies will be in 5th place. I'm sorry, Rockies fans. You can unfollow me if you want, but I don't care. Anyways, coming into 4th place, I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants. I think they're going to be a 500-ish team. They have a direction. It's just that we never know what they're going to be. Like, the only good season that they had was in 2021, obviously, when they won that division. Ever since then, it's like, are they going to do well this year, or are they going to be a 500-ish team? And I feel like maybe in the next couple of years, they're going to be a division winner or 2nd place team, wildcard team. But I just feel like this team, in terms of talent, it's not there to make the playoffs. It really isn't. After Logan Webb, I don't like the rotation whatsoever. I mean, I do like Birdsong, who absolutely owned us last year at Coors Field in San Francisco. As Rockies fans, I hate going to San Francisco because we never win there. But somehow the Giants still somehow don't do well other than the Rockies whenever they play the Rockies. It's funny. But anyways, the lineup is not very good. And plus there's a lot of veterans in there, and I feel like they need to go heavy young, like younger. They need to go younger in that lineup. Um, I think Yastrzemski is still there. Who I don't know why he's still there. It just I like Patrick Bailey. I like him. But it just Matt Chapman, he's gonna start, he's getting older. He's not gonna perform well. I mean, last year he had a good year, okay, but still, he's getting up there in age to where he's just not gonna be able to perform as well. Injuries have been an issue with the Giants as well. I mean, you can talk about the Rockies injuries, talk about the Giants injuries. Am I right? So, give me the Giants. They're not going to be bad, but they're going to be a 500 team this year. So third place, I'm going to go with the Padres. I agree in the fact that the clubhouse is just horrible. Machado, Tatis, we already know that those two guys have not had good chemistry together whatsoever since Tatis got traded over to San Diego in 2019. The rotation, I don't like. I feel like they're going to take a big step back. I think they're going to lose Cease. That rotation is not very good in my personal opinion. Michael King, I don't like him. And he had some really tough starts, including one of them was against the Rockies last year. And I get it was at Coors Field, but it's still Michael King. This guy was a top pitching prospect for the Yankees. And that lineup, they lost Jurickson Profar, who was kind of, if you want to call it, the Jose Iglesias of the Mets last year. Profar was the glue of that team, in the clubhouse, because that guy, even though it was so great to see him finally lead the Rockies a couple years ago, because we needed to play the younger guys. But Profar, he's just a happy guy, and you kind of like him. I mean, he's a great clubhouse person, but losing him might be huge, more than we thought. And of course, you look at that outfield. I love Jackson Merrill. He could be an MVP candidate this year and moving forward. But there's just not a lot of guys that's like, oh man, this is the best lineup or second best lineup in the National League. It's arguably there's some areas where I feel like the Rockies lineup might actually be better than the Padres lineup, and I'm not exaggerating. I do agree that Manny Machado is now on the down end of his career, and Xander Bogaerts, we can talk about his contract another time, and we probably won't have to, because I don't like that contract. I don't really get why they've been doing all these contracts for 11, 13 years. It's just, yeah. So yeah, give me the Padres at third place. Second place, Arizona Diamondbacks. I'm not going to harp on them too much. The pitching staff, I love. Adding Corbin Burns to there. I think Eduardo Rodriguez, he might have a big bounce back year. That rotation arguably could be one of the best in the National League, I think. Bullpen wise, concerning. They did lose Paul Sewald, and I know some are not high in Sewald. Sewald, though, he came from Seattle, from Adam Seattle Mariners a couple years ago in that trade. I like Sewald, and so I just feel like because I feel like the last few years we've seen the Diamondbacks really try to improve their bullpen, but they've lost a couple pieces from there. So maybe we'll see it step back from them in that area. Lineup wise, I really am scratching my head about the Perdomo extension. He's not an MVP type guy, and I don't know. I'm not saying that he's going to be bad, but I just feel like he's a little overhyped. That's just my opinion. And also, as a D-back hater, I really am not too sure about that. So, but and not to mention they're losing Christian Walker, who was a really good player and of course was a Rockies killer for a long time. So I'm glad that he's out of there. So they might lose a little bit of that power. Of course, they're hoping Josh Naylor will provide that at first base, but you're kind of riding on a bunch of what ifs. But still, I think this is going to be a wild card team. They're going to make the playoffs. So I have the D-backs in second. Dodgers, forget it. They won the division. Moving on to the Central. This is probably, other than the Padres and the Dodgers and maybe the Diamondbacks, this is the team I hate the most, and that's the St. Louis Cardinals. First off, Arenado, a couple years ago, I got so many Cardinals fans laughing in our faces about what happened, and it was sad, but it's funny to see that they have hardly had any success in St. Louis since he's gotten there. Yeah, they made the playoffs twice, but have yet to win a playoff game with Arenado, which is hilarious in my opinion. Front office, I had no clue what they're doing. Not to mention they, refused to have Jim Edmonds, a franchise guy. I mean, this guy was glorified in St. Louis for so many years, and he's not even allowed to show up to their camps. It's like, what are you doing? It's just the chemistry, the clubhouse presence, the vibe around that team is just so low right now. And this team could be arguably, other than the Marlins, could be one of the worst teams in baseball. I really do think that they're going to flirt with 100 losses. I really do. I'm going to go out there. I don't like the rotation whatsoever. Bullpen wise, they're going to lose Helsley by the deadline. He's going to get moved. Some of their prospects are overhyped in my opinion. Jordan Walker, kind of funny. However, you don't like to see a player get injured, but he like stepped over or fell over a sprinkler head this spring, which is, how do you even do that? I have no clue. Um, their lineup, there's decent guys, but you're just banking on them having bounce back years. Arenado, he's getting older. Performance wise, defensive wise, not the same anymore. And I feel like they should have traded him. And of course, I know it's not completely on St. Louis to move him because Arenado has to agree to it as well. But if I'm Arenado, I would have accepted that trade at Houston just because that situation is better than it is in St. Louis. But that's just me. So yeah, Cardinals in 5th place, Pirates in 4th. They didn't do anything in the offseason whatsoever to improve the roster. They got Tommy Pham, I think. I like the rotation. Of course, you got Ball Skeens, you got Jared Jones, who I absolutely love. It would have been nice if the Rockies would have been able to draft him a few years back. But you have Mitch Keller there. They have a couple decent pitch guys in the bullpen, but it's still not good whatsoever. Offense, you can say whatever you want about the offense. I don't like it. It's not great. The only strong side I think is the pitching. Brian Reynolds, who I think he's getting older now. He's still going to do whatever he can, but they didn't really improve this roster, and you can't tell me that this team is a lot better than it was last year. I really don't think so. They're going to be an 80-ish win team this year, right around 500. So they're going to get some wins against the Cardinals, I guess. So, and then going to 3rd place, I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds. I really love the hiring of Terry Francona. He's a winner. He everywhere he's been, he's won. I think the Reds are going to be a playoff team in the next year or two. Probably not this year, but I really do like the rotation. They have Chase Burns, who was potentially going to be a Rocky if they weren't going to draft Condon. They have Ellie De La Cruz. We can talk all day about him if we wanted to. They were able to get Gavin Lux. They got Spencer Steer, Matt McLean, who could be an MVP candidate this year. The guy has really good raw power. Tyler Stevenson, one of the best catchers, underrated catchers in baseball. I love the Reds, and their offense is going to knock. Their pitching might actually be sneaky good this year, and their bullpen, really good arms. Brent Suter from Milwaukee in there, so watch out for the Reds. I would not be surprised, however, if they make the playoffs. 2nd place, I have the Chicago Cubs. I was thinking about putting them in first, but then I've done this over the last few years. I've put the Cubs at number 1. They never do it, so I'm going to put the Cubs at number 2. I do have them, if I'm correct, in the wild card. We'll see what happens there. The rotation, I do agree with Adam, is that the rotation, they lost Kyle Hendricks, who has been, a long-time pitcher there who's had success. He's going to Los Angeles to play for the Angels. They do have Justin Steele. They have Imanaga, but after that, it just kind of falls off. And I think Matt Boyd is there, who I'm intrigued about, who came over from, I believe, Detroit. So I'm intrigued, but it's just, not a lot of excitement, I guess, around those last 2 to 3 pitchers in that rotation. Bullpens, whatever. They did get Ryan Presley from the Astros, who I think could be a really good guy. He's going to be an all-star. And I know he's been an all-star reliever for so many years with the Astros. So, the pitching might be decent, especially in Chicago, since, it's not like altitude. The lineup, I think, could be really, really good. Of course, they did lose Bellinger going to the Yankees. They did get Kyle Tucker. They still have, of course, Nico Horner. Ian Happ is there. Dansby Swanson. It's a good lineup. And again, that's why I have them in the wild card, but I don't think they're going to win the division by any means. I think the Brewers are going to run away with that division in first place. I agree with Tom. It's just every single year, a lot of people are like, well, they lost this guy. Well, they lost this guy, but yet they win almost as many games as they did with the players that they lost, right? So it's just there's a chemistry there in Milwaukee. I like their manager, and I think it just makes sense. The great atmosphere in Milwaukee. They have really good arms, even despite losing Nestor and Devin Williams. They're still going to find a way to win, and there's guys in their lineup that maybe don't scream well offensively, but Sal Frelick, a couple of the other guys, Reese Hoskins, he's Milwaukee, and of course they have all stars with Contreras, and Yelich, who could have a big bounce back year. I know he's been injured pretty much for the last 4 or 5 years since he's really been traded to Milwaukee. But yeah, I think the Brewers going to win that division. And then finally with the East Division, I'm not like Adam and Tom. I'm not going to mention the Marlins because they're irrelevant in my opinion. This team, I texted the guys this morning. I hate the Marlins, even though I would love to get them. I love the Marlins old retro hats. If I was not a Rockies fan, I would argue I might be a Marlins fan, but it's just the front office. It's just they don't. It's almost like they don't care about winning. And there's not like you look at the stadium when during this regular season or even opening day, they don't hardly break 8,000 fans at that ballpark. Other than the Athletics and the Coliseum, I think the Marlins had the lowest attendance last year. So there's just no excitement around that franchise other than maybe the farm system and Sandy Alcantara. But other than him, like you look at the lineup and you can't, I mean, it's so horribly bad. And they do have, Norby, I think is in there, Jonah Bride, but it's like, really like yeah. And they did nothing this offseason, which they said that they were. It's frustrating as a baseball fan to see people lie about that, especially to your fan base and to baseball. It's just not a good look. So Marlins, you get 5th place. Congratulations. Going to 4th place, I'm going to go with the Nationals. The Nationals, now the top 4, I think could easily be a wild card team. Well, at least 500 and better. The Nationals, they're going to be, I think they're kind of on the same road as the Rockies, maybe a slightly ahead of the Rockies. I think the Nationals are going to win at least 80 games this year. Dylan Cruz, I love the lineup. CJ Abrams, and then they have Luis Garcia at second base. He's younger than I thought he was. I thought he was, 28, 29, but he's actually, I think, 25 or 26. The guy is one of the best underrated second basemen in baseball. And I think they got Josh Bell back, which is great. I love that move. And it fits well because I think he was there in 2021 and 2020 over there. But it's just I love it. Dylan Cruz. There's some concerns with him. Maybe they called him up a little bit too early, but I think he's going to be fine. Rotation wise, Mackenzie Gore not very high on him. I mean, he was a Padres prospect, so generally not a lot of Padres prospects don't do very well, and that's a knock on you Padres fans. But I do like I think what's his name Williams. I think he's back in that rotation. I think he's a nice veteran presence there. And Jackson Rutledge, I'm not sure if he's going to be up this year, but I do like him. So they do have some options there. Bullpen wise, I would have to double check here, but bullpen wise doesn't scream whole lot of excitement around there. I mean, they do have, a couple of guys that are intriguing. Again, you have Robert Suarez, who was, I think with the Padres, if I'm not mistaken. He had some success over there. And that's basically it. I mean, if I'm forgetting something, let me know in the comments. And I'll have to take a look at it later. But the Nationals, the lineup, I think, is for them to take a big leap forward is going to be their lineup and some of the younger players. And I think the other guy I was forgetting about was Lucas Sims, who I like. I know he spent some years in Cincinnati. And then they had Colin Poche, who was a non-roster invite over there. He was with I think Tampa for a little bit. So I like the Nationals. They're gonna improve. 3rd place, I'm gonna go with the New York Mets. Juan Soto, he's good, but I just the pitching wise, I don't like it. David Peterson, I don't like him. I mean, he's a Colorado native, love that, but still, it's just really he's your number 2, number 3 guy. Like, come on. Bullpen wise, of course, I love the bullpen. You got Diaz, but can he stay healthy? Hopefully he can, and I think he will. And then you have the lineup, who I think has, of course, I was glad that they brought back Pete Alonso. I thought he wasn't going to come back, but he did. The lineup might look good, but other than that, it's just their pitching just not. It does not look well for me. So they get third place. Second place, I got the Atlanta Braves. I think the Braves. I love the Braves. The Braves are one of my most favorite teams. I really like to cheer for, but I just feel like they're heading into a direction of like rebuilding, retooling. I just feel like last year it just felt like I know they were without Springer, not Springer, Spencer Strider and Acuna. Um, and it's kind of a win for themselves to make the playoffs, even without those two best players, right? But I just feel like they're kind of heading into direction. I do anticipate Olsen to have a big bounce back year. But you look at the lineup, and of course, Sean Murphy's he's injured, but shouldn't be out too long. But it just, I don't know. Marcell Ozuna, he's getting older. Pitching wise, after Strider and Swollen back, and you look at the bottom part of that rotation, it's not like, it's not super exciting for me. But again, the Braves, they always have young guys that come out and throw like Cy Young. So again, they might prove me wrong here. Bullpen wise, they have Pierce Johnson still there. I think Ronaldo Lopez is still there, former White Sox. So yeah, they have some nice arms in that bullpen. They're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to be successful. Again, I'm not saying they're going to be bad in the future, but I just feel like they're going to start losing some talent. They're still going to have Acuna around. They're still going to have Matt Olson, but I just feel like they're starting to get a little older, so they now need to focus on redrafting, retooling in the minor leagues. So, and then first place team, it's the Phillies. I just feel like this is their year. Like last year, they got embarrassed by the Mets in the division series. This year, they're playing for something. They're playing for real. That lineup is arguably one of the best in baseball after the Dodgers and the Yankees, and maybe another team I'm missing here. But I love the Phillies. Rotation wise, still pretty good. Bullpen wise, not so good. They do have a couple of young guys. Again, Adam alluded to Jeff Hoffman leaving. So we'll have to wait and see. I do like their, again, they have a couple lockdown guys at the end of the games that are pretty solid. So, yeah, I think the Phillies, I agree with Tom. I think the Phillies are going to be a deep playoff contender, maybe even a World Series contender, as we've seen in the last few years. Can they go there again and win it? I think they can. And again, maybe another time we'll have to do our World Series predictions or playoff predictions. But yeah, so those are our predictions. Again, we apologize if it was a little bit too long because this has been one of the longest podcasts we've done in a while. But if you listen to this podcast, thank you so much. But yeah, Adam, Tom, thank you for hanging in there. I do apologize if we were a little bit late for both of you guys tonight. But man, if you have if you're watching or listening to this, if you have comments or questions or just your thoughts on our predictions or whatever, feel free to drop it in the comments below. We would love to hear your thoughts. Give us your predictions. Give us your postseason predictions if you would like. We would love to look at those and maybe even react to them in a video eventually down the road. So let us know for that. But again, Adam, Tom, thank you for your patience and thank you for your time. So again, we have only a couple podcasts left before we start heading to our Rockies recaps in a couple of weeks when the opening day starts. So that should be exciting stuff. Stay tuned for our season preview podcast. That'll be coming out in, I believe, about 2 weeks right before the season starts. So that should be a whole lot of fun. So yeah, it's been a fun night. Got to get out of here. But on behalf of myself, Tom, and Adam, thank you for listening to this edition of the Rockies Now podcast. And as always, go Rockies. We're going to the frickin' World Series, baby.
Let's
Let's go.
go.